Well, hello there. This is Craig Haines speaking, and this is all about how and why homeschool math can be vastly superior to public school math. This is a book that we're offering you, and I'm the author, Craig Haines, and you can learn all about me at my website, craighane.com, and our parent company is triadmathinc.com. Now, this video is about the preface of this book. And you are watching this, if you're watching the video, at homeschoolertoday.com/p. But if you're reading the book, this is what you'll be reading. And I'm going to be basically reading it for you and showing you a few additional things that we'll be discussing. First thing I want to say is that if you are interested in mathematics education, then this book definitely is for you. Whether you're a homeschooler or not, if you're interested in math education, this is something you'll learn a lot from, and I think you'll like to know about it. Now, I'll tell you that I have been involved in math education at virtually all levels for 75 years, as of 2019, which is when I'm doing this video. And you can learn all about me at my website at craighane.com. I'm 80 years old, and you'll learn in a minute why I've been involved in math ed for 75 years. Now, as you're going to learn in this book, I've been dedicated to creating a new math curriculum and a delivery system for over 50 years. But it was impossible until just a few years ago. So really, quite frankly, up until recently, I didn't think I'd ever have a chance of realizing my ambition. I was born in 1938, and I lived in a small cabin in the woods about 5 miles south of Greencastle, Indiana, middle of Indiana, on the banks of Deer Creek, and I lived there the first 12 years of my life. Now, when I was 4 or 5 years old, 1942-43, World War II was raging, and most fathers of young children at that time were very heavily involved in the war effort, and my father was too. He was gone from the house probably 14 hours a day working in a war plant at that time. But I was very fortunate. I lived next door to, in fact, the only neighbors we had, to my Uncle Jack at Aunt Inez. Now, my Uncle Jack was a 60-year-old barber and builder, so obviously he wasn't involved in the war effort. And so when I was 4 and 5 years old, Uncle Jack taught me to count. And then later on, he taught me practical geometry. So in a sense, I was kind of homeschooled in math before I actually went to school. And by the time I was 5 years old, I could count indefinitely to 100 and higher, no problem. And I tell you all about that later on, how he did that. Well, when I entered the first grade in Putnamville, Indiana, a very small school, 4 rooms with 8 grades, I was the only child in my class that had been taught to count. Well, keep in mind, the parents were busy with the war. Now, my teacher, Miss Lewis, then enlisted me to help her teach my classmates to count once she learned that I could already count. And that was my first teaching experience. In fact, it was just wonderful for so many reasons, and I won't get into all of that now, but it was great. Now, later on, my Uncle Jack taught me a lot about practical geometry that he knew for building. And it seemed like that I always knew more math, or at least some math, that my other teachers didn't know, all the way through the 8th grade. Now, you can learn all about this if you go to Homeschooler Today, to the Free Resources tab, and you hit the Educational tab, and then you hit the Elementary Video tab, and you'll learn all about it. So now I'll show you this very quickly if you're watching the video. You go to homeschoolertoday.com, and there you'll see all sorts of things. And if you go down to where it says Free Resources and click on that, that'll take you to Learn, Play, Connect, which is our free resources. Lots and lots of free resources here. And you go to the Educational tab, and if you go down to where it says Elementary Math Videos, that will take you to the videos I'm talking about. And you'll see some of my Uncle Jack videos that I give you for free. We have a whole program of them, and these are first few free samples. And so you'll begin to see how I learned math at that time. Well, after the 8th grade, when I learned all of the things from Uncle Jack that I've told you about, I hit a brick wall, my first brick wall. It was algebra in the 9th grade. Now, I didn't do very well in algebra, and in fact, I didn't like it. And I went to my counselors and my principal of my school, and I talked to them about it, and they advised me that, well, I wasn't very good at math, obviously, and I should not plan to go to college. Quote, just study shop, they called it, and get a regular job like the rest of your family. because as they knew, none of my family had ever gone to college. So that's what I was advised in the ninth grade. Well, fortunately, I think I was rescued by two great math teachers. One was Miss Madonna O'Hare at Greencastle High School. I had her for geometry, and I loved it and did well in it. And then my senior year, I went to DePaul University, which is in Greencastle, and I studied college algebra with Dr. Clint Gass. And he became my mentor, and it all goes on from there. It's a very long story that I tell elsewhere, and I won't tell you on this preface, but it was a wonderful story. Well, it turns out then, once I got going in math and I overcame my fear and all of that I had from algebra, then I taught high school math for about 12 years. I taught as a tutor mostly, but I also did some classroom teaching. This was from 54 to 66. Okay, now what I learned is I could do a much better job for most students when I was a tutor than I could as a classroom teacher. And that led me to what today I call spike pedagogy. Now that's going to be the topic of chapter number 1, and it's going to be critical for you to learn that if you're going to understand everything I'm going to teach in this book. So chapter 1 will be all about spike pedagogy. Well, after then I obtained my Ph.D. in math at Indiana University in 1966. I taught advanced university level math for 7 years at Indiana State University and Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. They're both in Terre Haute, Indiana. And I was teaching the advanced kind of math that you use for quantum theory and for theoretical physics and engineering. And I won't get into all of that, but that's what I taught. But prior to that, for 12 years, I taught high school math, and I loved high school math. I loved teaching high school math. And quite frankly, that's what I really kind of wanted to do. Well, actually, after 7 years of being a math professor, I decided to apply math to some business ventures, because I'm an adventurer. And I did. And for several years, I applied math to several different business ventures. Again, I won't get into details because there's many stories I could tell you. But it culminated in a company I formed to teach thousands over a 25-year period of technical workers in many industries, the military, utilities. General Motors was one of my biggest customers. And we did that with a company that I founded called Hane Training. And if you go to Hane Training, you'll see all the things we did. Now, this website is not active now, but it's still there. I left it there for historical reason. I sold this company several years ago to a big company over in Illinois called Advanced Technology Services. But you could go here and look at all the different courses we taught. We had about 50 workshops we ended up teaching over the years. And what we found out in every one of those workshops, in virtually every subject, whether it was mechanical or electrical or hydraulics or pneumatics or PLCs or whatever, you name it, what we discovered is that most of these technical workers, and these were very intelligent people working for companies like Ford and GM and Caterpillar and so on, they were deficient in math. They were deficient in their math knowledge. And so what made us successful, quite frankly, is the first thing we would do is we would teach them just enough math that they could learn whatever technical subject we were teaching them. Now, it turns out it's the same math pretty much for all technical subjects. And this became the basis then for creating what today I call Workforce Math. Workforce Math is a company that we've developed that sells all the training you need for industry. And it's very practical math. It's very easy to learn. And most students can learn all this in about 50 or 60 hours of their time. Well, that became the basis then of what we began when we teach a homeschool student math. This is the first 2 tiers, essentially, of a 6-tier program. Now, you're going to learn all about that in this book. This 6-tier program is quite involved. It took me many years to develop it. It's delivered online with videos and quizzes, and we keep track of records and a learning management system. We're going to learn all about it in this book. And now, thanks to modern technologies, a homeschool parent today can deliver a wonderful math education to any student that is vastly superior to what a public school math program can be. And that's what this book's all about. Now, as you can imagine, this is a very complex and controversial subject. So this book, I think, will be eye-opening for you. And whether you are currently a math teacher or just a homeschool parent or a student or anyone interested in math, every chapter is going to discuss some aspect of the situation we're talking about. And it's going to do it pretty succinctly, and then it's going to have a video, just like we have for this preface, that's going to explain it. So you can either read about it or you can watch a video, or for that matter, just listen to the video. There'll be some things you'll want to look at in the video, but mostly it's audio, me talking to you. Now, this is probably going to be a new experience for you. It's the kind of book I like to read. I love it if I read a book and the author will send me into a relevant video the author's done that also discusses it and explains it. But you don't see those very often. Well, anyway, what I advise you to do is take every chapter and read the beginning of it and decide if this chapter is something you're going to be interested in. You can tell just in a couple of 3 minutes if this is something you're interested in for this particular chapter, because different chapters are on all sorts of different things relating to this subject. And then if you like to read, just read on and read it. But if you like to watch a video or listen to audio, then go to the chapter video. And you can do it either way. Some people are visual, they want to read. I happen to be a visual person. I prefer to read. But a lot of people like to listen. You can even listen to the chapter when you're doing other things. There's some video that you'll want to watch on it, but you don't have to. You can listen to it. And then, of course, what I'll do in each chapter is I will very often then refer you to appropriate reference ebooks that I've written or additional videos I've done, so you can get a thorough explanation of it. Now, my goal is to give each reader of this book the information that is of interest to that reader. And I want to do it as efficiently as possible. That's why you could either read about it or watch a video. And, of course, I'm Craig Haines. I'm the author of the book. And my students call me Dr. Dell. My colleagues and my friends and family call me Craig, so probably that's what you want to call me if you ever talk with me. You go to my website and you'll learn how to contact me if you want to. And I want to remind you, our mutual goal, I believe, is to give each student an optimal math education that fulfills that student's broader ambitions and goals in life. And that'll vary a great deal from student to student. There's many different paths you can take in our training depending on the student's goals. And then, of course, believe it or not, I believe that homeschool math can be vastly superior to public school math. And this book is about the how and the why this is true. So I invite you to enjoy it. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you probably on many other videos in the chapters to come if you're interested in this topic and what I'm going to talk about in this book. This is Craig Haines. Have a great life.